Greetings to you all. Thank you for tuning in. Today I want to talk about finding peace when you've lost a loved one. Not long ago, when I went to visit my son's grave at the cemetery, I met up with these two young, lovely girls who had lost their mum, and they were understandably very upset. And so I got a chance to speak to them, and I want to share some of what I said to them to you. This is something that could help someone who's grieving for a loved one, for a parent, for a child, for a grandparent, a friend, just anyone who's generally grieving. What I want to point out is what we believe in. So personally, I believe in life after death. I believe there's something more that's waiting for us. I believe that life is a journey and it's an experience, and we're here for that experience. When my son passed away, I questioned the purpose of my life. She's, in my opinion, being away from my son was the cruelest thing that could ever happen to me. That's I couldn't understand it, and I was desperate to be with him. I mean, I was suicidal, yes. So that's where it was. But then I had an intervention during my suicidal moments, and so I'm still here because of that intervention. But that doesn't stop me from thinking or wondering why I'm still here and my son is not. It's cruel, it's unfair, and I miss him, and I'm really torn up about it. So where I lean into, and what I said to these young girls I met at the cemetery, is the promise of God. And I read the Bible, not all the time, but when I feel burdened emotionally, mentally, I do turn to the Bible, and the Bible just reminds me of the promises that God has for us. And so believing in life after death is a very important step for me, because it means to me that when I die, I will see my son again. Now, the problem I have is the time that it will take for me to see my son again, which in itself is another. It just felt so cruel. It does feel so cruel. Feels cruel. It feels, you know, but I'm a bit helpless about it, because I've been. I'm not suicidal anymore. I will live this journey in my life. I will experience what I need to experience. I'll continue the journey I need to continue. And when it's my time to go, I'll meet my son and I'll tell him about, the journey I had. And that's what I told these girls who were really mourning for their mum, that, there is no parent out there who wants to see their child upset. I say no parent, I say that loosely, because looking at the news recently, there are some questionable parents out there. I get that. But I'm referring to good parents. So if you look at a good parent, a good mother, a good father, and how they are with their child, they will never want their child to be upset over anything. The child's happiness is more important than anything in the world. A parent will sacrifice their own happiness for their child's happiness, and that is a good parent. There is nothing in the world that could make me happier than seeing my son smile. And when he wasn't smiling, when he was upset, then I would feel it like it's happened to me. And I've told him that, and I've explained to him why I don't like him playing rough with people, because when he gets hurt, and it he gets injured physically, I get injured emotionally in other ways that can't be seen. It's hard for me. So maybe it's a part of me that was overprotective, but it's also, I think, a part of me that was just also being a mother and just wanting my son to just be safe. My son was a rugby player, so I had to suck it in a bit and just kind of bear with it, and just grind my teeth when he's getting tackled, and but we joke about it. I'd say, let me know if you need me to come onto the pitch and help you, and I'll rugby tackle anybody. I'll kick their asses, and make sure that you're okay. And you'd always laugh and say, "Mum, please, you just embarrass me." But the point is that a mum or a dad a good mum or dad will always want the best for their child, and will always want to protect them. And no matter what, I think every good parent would vouch for themselves and say, well, yes, I will stand in front of a bus or train to save my child's life. You wouldn't think twice about it. So that's where we are. And if we think that, going sidetracking a little bit, if we think that for our children, what more God for us, who's greater than us? If we love our children and can sacrifice ourselves for our children, what more God for us? Now we think about that, and we think about what he actually did do. He did sacrifice himself for us. That's a message for you, which I didn't plan for right now, but that's something that's just popped into my head right now, that we do that, and God, who's bigger and greater, does more, 100 times more, no matter what we do. So I said to these girls, look, your mom has gone, and where she is now, if she could see you, how do you think she would feel? If she could see you crying constantly, always upset and depressed, where she is, she's in a good place. She's with God, in the presence of God. And we're all going to go there eventually. This is the journey. Our end journey is being with God. And, so we just look forward to it. We just look, when I say look forward to it, I mean, as in, we just be mindful that we are here temporarily. Make the most of what you've got now. So don't spend your last days being all depressed and upset, which is the most natural thing to do. I know that it's easier said than done, but if you think of how your mum is seeing you and how upset she would be to see you the way that you are, then it doesn't help her or him, or whichever, if it's whichever parent has passed away, and it doesn't help you. So you need to detach yourself from your feelings and think about how the other person would feel, the person who's passed away, how they would feel if they saw you in the state that you're in. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. It's a strength that you can't do on your own. This is a strength from God. Okay, so this is something that you need to really pray about and read the Bible for, because you need the strength to be okay. You need the strength to carry on. Your life is numbered by God. God is the one that knows when you're going to join your parent or your child or your grandparent, or whoever it is that's passed away. God knows when you're going to join that person again. So you leave it in God's hands. While you're here, what are you doing with your life? Make the most of it. Do something good. How are your how were your parents or your child when they were alive? Were they giving? Were they kind? Were they, joyful people? My son loved dancing. He was a joker. He liked playing jokes. He liked doing, just making people laugh. And he was really happy. And so when I think of him and his personality and the way that he was, all the dancing and the messing about and the being silly, the playing around, playing jokes and all. I try and make people as happy as my son made me, and when I was speaking to these girls at the cemetery, they were saying, yeah, that's what they do. Their mum was always giving, she always gave to charity, and so they've incorporated that in their lives as well. They've taken that on and they continue giving to charity. They do what their mum did, while she was still alive. And that's, in my opinion, a good way of keeping that memory alive. I've got some verses in the Bible that I want to share with you that back up what I say about life after death. So I'm going to start from Genesis 4, where God says, it's Genesis 4 verse 10. But the Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." Okay, so for me that means that you still heard, this is before Jesus Christ was even introduced to us, and before he died on the cross, you were still heard beyond death. God still heard you. Okay, so that's life after death. It doesn't go into detail as to what happened, what he did with him, but God is God. He doesn't need to explain that. Just in case you want to know, I'm reading for it's the Holy Bible, the NLT. So that's the New Living Translation Bible. Okay, so it might the wording might be a bit different in your Bibles. Okay, but that's Genesis 4 verse 10. You can read it for yourselves. And then the next one I want to share with you is Luke 23 verse 40. This is when Jesus was on the cross and there was those two thieves next to him, hanging on the cross. And one of the criminals hanging beside him scoffed, "So, you're the Messiah, are you? Prove it by saving yourself, and us too while you're at it." But the other criminal protested, "Don't you fear God, even when you have been sentenced to die? We deserve to die for our crimes, but this man hasn't done anything wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise." That is not when the resurrection or when Jesus' second coming. That is on that day, that person was going to be with Christ. There's no time limit. Once you've repented, this is the repentant thief. Okay, and that's consolation for a lot of people, who wonder what happens after you're dead. Well, you go with Christ. Christ meets you. There is also John 11 verse 38 to 44. Well, I'll start from John 11 verse 40. This is when he went to meet Lazarus. Lazarus had died, and Jesus had went to wake him up, and he's gone to the stone, and he's asked them to roll the stone aside. But Martha, I'll start from here. But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested, "Lord, he's been dead for 4 days. The smell is terrible." Jesus just asked them to move the stone, and that's what she said, that the man's been dead for 4 days and the smell is terrible. Jesus responded, "Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe?" Now, I'll finish it there because that in itself is very strong. You will see God's glory if you believe. Not my words, the words of Jesus Christ. Okay? So it's there, it's in the Bible. Believe it. See God's glory. Live your life to the fullest where you are now. Have something to talk about when you meet your loved one again. You will see God's glory. Your family's gone before you. That's painful. And I understand the pain. Okay, I understand the turmoil. I understand if whoever has suicidal thoughts, I understand that all. I understand the wanting to drink yourself into oblivion. I understand the self-destruct. Okay, I understand all of that. But if you believe in the promises in the Bible, you will see God's glory again. Now that's a promise from God. Okay? And I believe everything that God says. If you believe what God says, then you will feel the lightness in your heart. I'm not saying you'll get over your anguish or pain. I'm not saying that it makes everything better. I'm saying that you will feel the peace. Okay, you'll feel a different type of peace that you can never ever imagine feeling at this difficult moment. I didn't think that I would sit in front of a camera talking to people, sharing my story. I didn't think I could talk to people in the cemetery. I mean, the only thing I wanted to do when my son passed away was die. I wanted to give up on everything, and I pretty much did mentally. When I couldn't commit suicide, I was mentally just not, and physically just gave up. Okay, it took me a while to really function like a normal person. It took me time to get dressed, to eat, shower, to do normal things. A lot of things I had to be pushed. Okay, but I had to be encouraged. Like I say, pushed, I mean encouraged by family members, by my husband. You know, I needed that encouragement. Okay, and the only thing I could do at that time, during that time, is blame God and be angry and vent out at God for what he'd done. You know, that's pretty much all that came out of my mouth during the time. But even though I was venting out to God and I was angry and really hurt, I told God that, yeah, okay, you've done this to me, but you are still God. You know, you're still God. So why have you done this to me? I did all of that, and I've gone through all of it. I went through all the motions, you know, and I'm here telling you that you will see your loved one again. Just believe. It's not me that says it. It's the Bible that says it. You know, one thing I do guarantee is that I will not live forever. You know, so when I do finally go, when I do finally die, I'm sure that I will meet my son again. And why I'm still here, why I'm still walking on this planet and my son is not, is so that I can deliver this message to you. That's what I believe, that I can give some encouragement to other people who have lost their loved ones and tell them to just keep moving, keep living your lives, make the most of it now, and you will meet your loved one again. Right. Thank you for watching. Bye.